Thank you for liking already. We've not even said anything yet. See, that's what you call motivation. So what you
Die
call
hard.
proper. So, Ali,
Gee, fellow beardo.
describe yourself in 3 words.
Wow.
You didn't expect me to ask you that, did you?
I didn't see that coming. Describe myself in 3 words. I always find it a little bit cringe, to be honest,
Why? Why do you?
because you never want to highlight the
Negatives?
good that you see
Oh, the
in
good.
yourself. Yeah,
Okay.
negatives is easy. I find that quite easy because
But have you noticed whenever you ask somebody, describe yourself in 3 words, they never mention any of the negatives?
I
Or
do.
very rarely.
I do. 3 word. Determined,
Okay.
raw.
Raw.
I want to say unforgiving.
Okay. You're not forgiving.
Unforgiving or unforgetting? I'm going to go with unforgiving for now.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a bit of a story behind that. But Khair,
Here's the thing.
already, we've only been live 30 seconds.
Here's the thing. Now, the reason I even asked the question is because most of us don't give ourselves the time to think about who we really are in general terms. We're so consumed into all the other activities of life. Now, within that list of activities in life, it could be social media, it could be work, it could be family commitments, and all sorts of stuff. But it's very rare now to open that discussion for people independently to go into this mode of self-discovery. That
Okay.
I feel has become quite dangerous because by not understanding who we are, we fall into the trap of trying to be something we weren't even destined to be.
Wow, that's deep. Or someone we're not.
I should make a quote of that. Sorry, yeah. Can you? I'll watch this back and make write it up.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you
Or
will.
somebody we're not. Yeah, and somebody we're not. Because if you look at just the statistics on things like mental health problems, I pulled one up just earlier on. Check this out. 10% of children and young people, which is between 5 and 16, according to these stats, have a clinically diagnosable mental health problem. 10%.
Wow.
50% of mental health problems are established by the age of 14 and 75 by the age of 24.
See, I can believe that.
Well, you know, I mean, okay, there are lots of different reasons why mental health problems start and issues, but there are also loads of these studies which show that when people, especially the young generation, when they're trying to be something, they're not, or they're trying to keep up with a certain trend, or they get bullied because they don't fit in a certain look. You know, it's quite shallow that people are accepted and rejected based on the way they look, for example.
Based on
The
the
way
way
they
they
look.
look. Between 5 and 16,
Yeah, between ages 5 and 16.
50%. That's some big numbers, man. It's crazy.
They are. And it's scary because
Do you think that's because we become more resilient and we become stronger in adult life? Even though
no, but these
the
continue.
symptoms don't show.
These things start at that age. Doesn't mean to say they stop at the age of 24. They can continue beyond the age of
Well,
24.
the way I would interpret that is the trauma occurs at that age. Do you see what I mean?
Okay.
More often than not, it won't affect you until your later years. We don't process things straight away. And especially trauma, we can take years and even decades to process that kind of thing. So
Yes.
do you think in later life we just thicker skin, don't we?
Not everybody is. You see, once you've felt that kind of trauma, you're likely to be affected long term unless you've had some form of intervention taking place or to help you come out of it or to manage it. This is the issue. So unless something's happened to help you come out of it, the problem again is either the people who have succumbed into, I shouldn't even say the word succumbed into, all the people who have gone through these types of challenges in life, a lot of them, if you look at some of the stats, are down to the failure to keep up with the Joneses, or not fitting in, or feeling that they're ugly. Somebody's felt like they're not beautiful enough, especially amongst the younger crowd. Once you become older, and if you're quite, I don't know, independent thinking, you're a bit of a maverick, you're a bit strong-minded, you're less
describing yourself now. Come on, that's your 3 words, isn't it?
Well, you know what I mean. Thanks, Paul. I mean, I didn't, but thanks anyway.
If the shoe fits.
If the shoe fits, yeah. But if you are strong-headed, you're not going to let those kind of things affect you. Do you know what I mean?
Just reading Russ's comment. You want to try being ginger? Wow, this is true. I have a certain sympathy for the gingers. Okay, I see what you're saying. I agree.
But the foundational question is, who are you? This is why we titled this, Who Do You Think You Are? Just who do you think you are? How our self-image has a big impact on how we let things affect us. If nobody can make us feel inferior or anything, not just inferior, anything, unless we give them the permission to do so.
Does that work both ways?
Look, if I'm already feeling in myself inadequate or deficient in something, and you say something to me, I'll let that affect me. The key word is I've let that affect me.
Yes.
Because I was either already thinking it, subconscious mind, or it was in the back of my mind, and I've let that happen. Yeah. Nobody can make us feel anything unless we give them the permission to do so. Yeah, of course, there are the caveats where if through years of mental torture or abuse, these kind of things build up and people start to believe in things. Like kids, imagine like telling kids, don't be so stupid. You're a silly boy, or you're a stupid girl. You keep saying that to a child. At the age of around 6, a child wants more and more approval from their guardians and parents.
Okay.
To show that they're doing all right. That's the typical age of where they seek approval from their elders.
Age of 6.
Around age of 6. Now, around that age, if you're constantly telling kids, like, you're calling them nicknames, for example, it's going to stick.
So is that when people are really kind of learning to define themselves and who they are? Is that where it kind of really sets in?
I think those kind of things have an effect on us from that age, but we can't define who we are from that age. It's always going to be a learning process. I didn't really feel that I went through a soul-searching journey until I was around 25-ish. I had an identity, but it was predominantly an inherited identity. Possessions and status doesn't define us.
Unless you let it, obviously.
It just doesn't define us, in my eyes. It's going to be subjective, but it just doesn't define us.
It is subjective, because if the person chooses to define themselves in that way, I mean, how many people, when asked, okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself, are describing, their status or their career or their, maybe what they drive, these kind of things.
Yeah, look, these kind of things, I mean, again, if you're comfortable with who you are and what you have, you're not going to let somebody else's achievements put you down, are you?
Okay.
If you're uncomfortable with who you are and you're bitter about what you have, then you're going to let somebody else's great achievements affect you.
Yes, okay.
I find it quite bizarre how people can't sincerely celebrate other people's successes. There are some people who I've come across in life who just have a real issue in celebrating other people's successes.
Or giving a compliment.
Or giving them a compliment, yeah. Or sharing their good news.
Yeah.
They really have a bee in the bonnet about it. It's like, wow, why should I? Like, okay, don't. But, why let that affect you?
It's never really as blatant as that, is it? Why should I? It's more...
There are deeper
underlying... They try to grin through it and they can't bring themselves to say something nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
The issue we have here is there are things around us which shape our way of thinking, which shape our lives. We are consuming information. You know, there's so many millions of bits of information we consume every second, but there's only around 6 or 7 which we actually take on board at a time. Yeah. Saying that, the things we see around us shape the way we often think. They shape the way we live our lives. We live according to a standard set in our society or what we see on the media.
Okay.
And they shape the way we even think about things. And I, you know what? We so innocently watch certain TV programs and stuff and say it's just entertainment. But it's more than entertainment. There are a lot of things being subconsciously, we're being narrated or educated on, which we don't even realize. I'll give you an example. How many people watch Simpsons? Loads of people watch The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if not watched, then they've seen The
Simpsons. They've seen The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Now look at the character in The Simpsons, or the characters in The Simpsons. Yeah. You've got a policeman. There's a fat guy who's eating donuts all the time, lazy, a bit dumb.
I'm trying to think of his name now.
Okay. I mean, I can't remember his name either. Somebody.
But I know the one that you mean. I know the one because he's the slightly superior police officer, and he's got his two kind of sidekicks, isn't he? He's the one that calls the shots. He's dumb.
Right. He's a law enforcement authority, and we're sitting there taking the piss out of him.
Yeah.
Now think about that for a second. Yeah. Look at the deeper understanding of watching, and you might think everyone thinks it's innocent, it's just entertainment. Look at the role of the father, Homer Simpson. Yeah. Where does he work? In a nuclear plant.
Power plant, yeah.
He's got a really important, may not be an important job, but he's working in a very, very, sensitive, important kind of place.
Yeah, it's a pretty...
He's a father, and he's made out to be the biggest dumbass going. Yeah?
Yeah.
Look at Lisa, his Bart Simpson's sister. She's bright. She's intelligent. How many friends does she have?
Does she have any friends?
No.
Wow. Okay.
Nobody hangs about with her. She's bright. She's intelligent. She's articulate. She asks questions.
Milhouse wants to be her friend, isn't it? Is that?
Well, I think he wants to be more than just a friend. But do you see where I'm coming from?
Whereas Bart, on the other hand,
who's the star of the show, he's mischievous.
He's probably the most popular character and has loads of friends.
Yeah.
Popular.
Yeah.
You know. Okay.
Do you see where I'm coming from? You know, there's they say that the producer of The Simpsons is an anarchist. So they believe in anarchy. They don't believe in law and order kind of thing, and they're anarchists, anarchy. So
Matt Groening or something. Yeah?
I can't remember his name.
Okay.
I can't remember his name. But and these things have an impact on our minds. These things have an impact on the way we perceive things. And think about every time you watch a movie and there's some kind of a terrorist or an extremist, there's always going to be a Muslim name.
Or an accent, at least.
Or an accent, or an Arab.
Yeah.
Yeah? They might not even make it so blatant, but it's always going to be some kind of an Arab. So what is the perception of the general population going to be about Arabs and Muslims?
Or a Russian.
It used to be more. Yeah? Okay, so it's coming back now. I don't watch that many movies.
Who's the bad guy in Die Hard? Is it Russian or some sort of...
Die Hard? I think he was. I think he was. But look at most of the other movies.
Okay.
Yeah, especially since 9/11. Now, if you look at the 9/11 narrative, yeah, very sad what happened. Everybody condemns what happened, whoever's responsible for it. But ultimately, off the back of the 9/11 happenings, you have had millions and millions of people, innocent people, dying on this war on terror thing.
And it really is millions, isn't it?
Yeah, but nobody stands up and does a minute's silence for them. Where's the priority? Or some lives more important than others? What are we being told here? What's the narrative that's being played here? Do you see where I'm coming from? Because it's been pushed through mainstream media, the perception is this is what we've got to remember because it was a significant event. What about the significant events that happened to so many other people around the world, which just go unnoticed?
Do you think that's just us though? Like here in the UK or the US? Or do you think it's the collateral losses, should we say, are more recognized in other countries? We don't really relate because the thing is,
What, because 9/11
We're
happened
very,
in the Western world,
we're very Hollywood, you know. The media almost plays out a storyline for us. It's good guy versus bad guy. And naturally we're depicted as the good guys, you know. So the Arabs, the Russians, the Africans, the Nigerians, whoever else it is, always end up playing the role of the bad guy. So when we hear of, I don't know, when there was friendly fire or crossfire or they dropped a bomb on...
we're going to have our alliances.
Yeah.
It's not just that, Ali. Think about this, right? The general perception, we've got the Black Lives Matter movements going on, right? And they have a point. There are stereotypes which we, much of the way we perceive things is often determined by the way, what we choose to see, what kind of media we choose to consume. Let me give you another example. Most of the time, these things have recently changed now, I'll have to admit. Most of the time, whenever you switched on the TV and you saw a black character, African-American characters, most of the time they were either holding basketballs, doing athletic stuff, professional athletes. The perception of them was built that they are, physically strong people, and this is what they're good at. They're good at sports, they're good at athletic stuff, they're good at, that kind of thing.
Which they are.
There's no denying that. However, did you know, statistically, there are more African Americans or Africans in general who are medical professionals than there are professional athletes. So the chances of them becoming medical professionals or professionals in those kind of fields over becoming professional athletes is far greater.
Okay. How are you counting professional athletes? Like
really
top league?
Not necessarily. Yeah? Just people who are in sports and they happen to be black and they're in professional sports. Not necessarily the elite.
Interesting. That's going to go for all races, isn't it? There's always
going to be more... every Asian, Chinese, Japanese person is going to be good at martial arts. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Okay.
Do you see? I'm not. See, I don't like to just skim and surface look at things. I like to look at the deeper message behind the things. And these are things which are quite disturbing. If you look at the way anything is portrayed in media, they are very influential on people's mindsets.
Okay, so they can be seen as a negative as well as a
Look,
positive.
TV has its benefits. You can watch movies and you can have entertainment, but don't just think about it in an innocent way that it's going to be innocent. Think about the way adverts are carefully placed in different TV programs. Think about how sometimes you would even see adverts for plastic surgery in American TV channels, which was quite common about a decade ago, in the middle of children's TV programs. What are they conditioning them to do? What are they wanting them to think about? This is what I'm saying. These are the kind of things which are disturbing. But the moment we realize and we're content with who we are, those kind of things have less of an effect on us once we have determined who we are. But that takes time. The nurturing starts in childhood. The nurturing starts at a really young age.
Okay. So what's the opposite of allowing people to kind of label you or tell you who you are, It's having your guard up?
Well, the first thing is you don't just allow people to tell you who you are. You have to go through a self-identification process. Now, for someone like me, it became quite easy when I went through my self-discovery phase because my...
Mid-20s?
Mid-20s, yeah.
That's a long time to not know who you are. Who are you before that?
Well, you think you know who you are. I'm not saying you don't know who you are. You think you know who you are.
So what did you know? What did you know before that, prior to self-discovery, prior to kind of looking for deep meaning and reflection?
Well, before I went into the self-discovery, for a short period, I'd say for about 3 or 4 years, I didn't even think about the question, who am I?
Okay, let's do this, yeah? 23-year-old Majid.
Yeah.
Describe yourself in 3 words.
23-year-old. Adventurous, carefree, fun-loving.
Okay. Which are pretty much one and the same. They kind of tie in with a...
Yeah.
Okay. Not a bad way to be. Fast forward.
Fast forward. Risk conscious.
Wow. Wow. Talk about mood killer. Okay.
Sincere.
Yeah.
And what else would I say?
Take the first 3. So carefree.
Yeah.
To risk conscious.
Yeah, and I think that's partially because of my profession in risk management now, but it's become a way of life.
It is, yeah.
It's become a way of life, which I don't mind, to be honest, because it happens subconsciously. It's not something I kind of consciously think about. There's sometimes I'm a risk taker in lots of different things. But I kind of do a dynamic risk assessment in my mind, right? And then sometimes, on other times, I will do some spontaneous stuff and not think about the risks involved. And I've done that, in recent years, which would go against what I would normally do. But that's, I'm not boring in that sense. I'll do things spontaneously and take risks. As a business person, I have to.
Do you like the idea of having to kind of describe yourself? Do you find it odd?
Everyone would find it odd because they've not really thought about it. We don't think about it enough. We don't think about it enough. And I think that changes. It doesn't have to be the same. You might describe yourself in one way one day, and a week later, you might describe yourself in a different way.
Depends on the situation or where you are or who's asking, isn't it? A lot of the time, people, when asked to, describe themselves or who they are, they kind of refer to their ethnic origins or their roots and these kind of things.
Again, I don't believe ethnicity, your roots determine how you should view yourself. They form a part of your identity, heritage, yes, can't deny it, but they shouldn't determine how you view yourself. Let me give you an example. For those people who are maybe who follow religion or whatnot, there's a story of Prophet Moses, both in the biblical sense and the Quranic, where Moses, peace be upon him, tells his followers or his community to go to a certain place where there are certain types of people and to face them. And his people, Moses' people, say, we're not going to go there. Those people see us for who we are, right?
Okay.
That's the Quranic version. Then the biblical version extends that. They say that those people see us for who we are. They see us like grasshoppers. Now, can you imagine a community of people seeing themselves in comparison to other people as grasshoppers, making comparison? So this is the image they had of themselves. For me, I try to base my viewings and thoughts and things and my way of life from a theological perspective, and that's impermissible. Theologically, it's not allowed. You're not allowed to think of yourself or have an inferior image of yourself in that, or put yourself down. Like sometimes say, "Oh, I'm such an idiot. I'm such a stupid guy." We all do it, but in my interpretation of our faith, we're not allowed to even do things like that. So, having negative thoughts often clouds our judgment of ourselves. It's external influences, it's the media, it's the social media. Think about these mental health issues the kids are going through. They're looking at models on Instagram and they're looking at things on all sorts of social media channels, and they model themselves on them. And if they're not, think about filters. You're obviously not happy with yourself if you have to keep using filters.
I hate filters.
You don't need them.
I cannot stand filters.
There are some people who follow me on social media, and I see some of their content on my newsfeed, and they've always got a filter on. Never have ever,
Where did that start? Where's that even from? I'll tell you where it started, why I remember it from. And I don't know why this image sticks in my head. I don't know if it was the first or not. the dog ears or the rabbit ears or whatever in this first kind of Snapchat or Instagram filter, whatever it was. And since then, it's just progressed into stupidity almost. Because, okay, putting an animal face on or a nose on, I get it. It's a joke, you know? Then we got to the point where people couldn't post a picture of themselves anymore, just as they are. So
do you remember? I think it was about a year and a half ago. I tried a filter for the first time, and I only tried it because there was a big beard and a handlebar mustache. Do you remember? I put it in that group.
I'll tell you why I remember it. Because you say it was a big beard. I tried it, and I had a proper beard coming up underneath.
Your beard came well underneath.
I was well proud.
Well, you know, you made a comment that actually looked pretty good, and since then, look, beard and a handlebar mustache.
Oh, I never connected
that's where it started. Okay. Yes, so
I'll take credit for that. Thank you very much.
So you know, people who are always using filters, you know, some can argue, oh, I don't want people to just see what I really look like. But why post pictures in the first place?
No, I tell you why that argument doesn't stand now, is because I'm not saying for everyone. There's always exceptions to every kind of rule, and not everyone fits one category. The most popular filters are the ones that just give you clearer skin.
Okay.
Fair enough. It's you, but it's
an enhanced version.
It's a Photoshop version. It's not giving you bunny ears.
It's giving you bigger eyes.
It's not putting shades on you. Yes.
It's giving you slightly lighter shade of
clearer complexion, lightened. That's what it is. And they are the most popularly used filters.
And there are people who would never post a picture without using. You know, it used to be a case of people saying, "Oh, I would never get out of the house or go out of the house without my makeup on." You used to hear that phrase on TV a lot, you know, and dramas like Coronation Street and EastEnders.
I'm sure the 23-year-old Majid heard it all the time.
And you know, so nowadays it's not even that, because people tend not to go out so much as they tend to be out socializing on social media.
Yeah.
And the pictures that are posted have almost always got some kind of a filter on.
That's what it is. People are more worried about what they post.
Yeah, but there's a danger of that, you see, because and it reminds me of a joke. Somebody says, well, you know, if you got lost, how would I find you? if you don't look like who you really are. No, the danger is this. The danger is, by doing that so much time, you're wanting external, what's the word, Yar? You know, when you want
feedback,
not just
compliments,
validation.
Okay.
You're wanting validation from external sources all the time when you're looking at those kind of things, likes and comments and stuff in your social media feed, to validate that you're okay, that you're good.
Okay.
That's the danger. We need to be more content and happy within ourselves. If somebody has a nice big house and a nice big car, it shouldn't make me feel inferior or discontent. I might strive to have a nice big car or a nice big house. But when I've got that, if somebody says, look, oh, you know what? When I get that big house, I'm going to be happy then. Or when I get that car that I wanted, that's when I'm going to be happy. But when you do get happy, then, when you do get that car, what then? You're going to want a different car. You're going to want a bigger house. You're going to want something else. So materialistic things usually tend to keep us in this rat race. That's when I told, you know, when I said I left the rat race. I left the rat race in my mid-20s.
Okay. Funny, because I just literally moments before we started had I noticed somebody posted a picture of a really nice car, you know, his dream car. And he said, I'm 21 years old. I've just bought my dream car. Now what? And I just put dream bigger. That was it.
Wow.
You're 21 years old.
Yeah.
You know, you haven't achieved everything that you set out to in life. And if that is to buy a nice car, you need to go back to some kind of drawing board, you know?
Well, you would say that. He wouldn't. It was his dream car. He's made it. He's got his car. Now what? If he's asking the question publicly, now what? Just imagine how confident he is within himself that he feels that he's done it. He's made it. There's nothing more. That's when you go through deep soul searching stuff. I was a big spender before my mid-20s. Well, around my mid-20s. Alhamdulillah, I was in a position where I was a high earner, and I achieved a lot up to that age, which is the thing that pushed me to think deeper. So I bought my brand new car from a showroom, and I was in the Manchester city centre, living in apartments and amongst near celebrities and
So
stuff.
do you think people who are still in the rat race but not as successful are in it for that reason? It's harder to come out of something until you've kind of hit some kind of pinnacle, isn't it?
I think
this
so.
with celebrities.
Well, look, there's a celebrity who died in India. Apparently, some actor who, the cricketer Dhoni, MS Dhoni.
He played
his role, and apparently his last movie was about somebody who was committing suicide, and that was just earlier this year or something. And he's committed suicide himself. There's something he was unhappy about at that age. What is his mid-30s or something?
It's not uncommon with
this is the point I'm making.
Marilyn Monroe. I don't really know.
Were you a Marilyn Monroe kind of a guy?
Were.
Oh, you still are? Okay.
Why would she want to take drugs? Why was she so like depressed behind the scenes? Why was there so many issues? And it's not a one-off.
The comedians as well. Robbie Williams.
Robbie Williams,
yeah. The most happy-go-lucky kind of guy you would see on screen.
You think so?
On screen, yeah.
Yeah, he jokes.
Yeah. Going back to the original question.
So it's not what they're telling us, is it? It's not what they're saying or they're showing. Which brings us on to our... it's quite a good quote. I like that.
Do you like it?
I like that.
I wrote that... when I wrote that quote, And
for those that are listening and not watching, quoted by Majid Waris himself, just because someone speaks with conviction, it doesn't mean they speak with facts.
We often get sold into ideas because of how passionately somebody might speak about something. They may be articulate, they may be passionate, they may be projecting themselves in such a way that in awe of that delivery itself, we get sold onto whatever they're selling in inverted commas as a concept or whatever it is, an idea or dream or anything like that.
Good point. Social media, if not for business or talent, it's just toxic, in my opinion. Love yourself and grow to love yourself. Social media it's a dangerous drug, isn't it?
Social media is like a knife. You can use it to your benefit to do good things, or you can use it and commit suicide, social suicide for it. Our reputation is on the line online. That's another one of my quotes. I had to.
Do you worry about the currency used on social media?
Like the likes and shares and stuff?
Yes.
I worry that there's a study done, and it's quite popularly known now. There's actually some kind of some enzymes that are released in your body when you see more and more likes. Again, when we were talking about validation earlier, when people look for validation, there's a study done that gives people some kind of validation, gives them some happy hormones that come out, and it becomes addictive. It's actually an addictive kind of, it's the same hormone which is used when you have an addiction to something. And that same hormone is released and you have an addiction to that kind of thing. And then it becomes dangerous. This is why I do a 1 month digital detox every year to detox from all that. Just I try and keep myself in check. But if I do get to a stage where I feel, I don't allow myself to get into that stage. I would like to believe that I'm strong enough not to do that. And this is why I have no issues coming off social media altogether for a whole month. So there was an actress who jumped off the Hollywood sign. They made Netflix show series based on it. Check that out. Now, how ironic is that? I don't know who this is, but Adila is saying that there was an actress who jumped off the Hollywood sign and they made a Netflix show series based on it. Now imagine that. Somebody in the showbiz industry commits suicide by jumping off that sign and they make a show of it.
It's kind of hoping that somebody connects the dots, isn't it? Otherwise you could have, I don't want to give advice on how to top yourself, but You could overdose in your room. You could eat something, drink something, fade away into the background. But what's that really saying? Is that telling us something? To jump off the Hollywood sign itself.
Crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy, yeah. And this is why it is so toxic. The online side of things, or the what we choose to present to other people, isn't it?
The danger isn't just that. The danger is, and I keep bringing it back to this, the original reason why we came to have this discussion is, unless we understand ourselves, we're going to allow external influences to shape who we are, how we live, how we perceive things. I mean, what is the criteria? Who determines what's beautiful? In the 1940s and 50s, the Western world, especially the British world, right? They used to envisage, or they viewed Indian women as backwards people, right?
Okay.
So in the 1940s and 50s, Indian women were perceived as backwards people. Why? Because they displayed their belly buttons. So you know,
by who? Sorry, by
the British, the English people. They viewed, because they obviously Britain was the colonial past. They ruled over India, right? So they viewed Indian women as backwards people because they showed their belly buttons.
Because it wasn't their norm.
It wasn't their norm. Just think about the concept. I mean, by the way, for those of you who don't know, Indian women traditional dresses a sari. For them, it's the norm to wear their clothes in a way where the belly button is shown. So when women in India, or Indian women generally, who wore saris, whose belly buttons were shown and they're seen as backwards, that was a standard in those times. Now, if you measured yourself to be accepted and not accepted based on that idea, then you're already at a loss, aren't you? Those things have changed. People's views have changed. Look today, showing your belly button, itself alone is no big deal nowadays. How people show a lot more than that, and people don't bat an eyelid. It's true, though. It's true, isn't it?
I actually like the way that
you like belly buttons?
The British, well, I've got one, so I have to like it, don't I?
I know.
I like the way that the British dressed back in the 40s and 50s, and it was very very gentlemanly, very ladylike, wasn't it? It was, they had character about them at that point. I really don't know where it all went wrong for the British.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember, we were discussing this last week. Sorry, carry on.
It could be argued that there was a time where you'd kind of let society or culture define you, saying, okay, look, I have to dress smart, I have to wear a three-piece, a top hat, a walking stick. The whole shebang thing that they had going on.
Yeah.
Awesome, by the way. Love it.
I loved it.
But then people decided, no, F that. I'm not going to follow no trend, or I'm not going to follow the norm. I'm not going to go with the crowd. I'm going to wear Kappa tracksuit. I'm going to wear Burberry. I'm going to wear, I don't want to give too many references, but you see where I'm going with this, and I'm going to show my
Burberry ran happy, were they?
have a boob tube or whatever. It just got...
What's one of them?
I'll show you later. It just got ridiculous, and so is that the counter argument?
Freedom of expression.
Yeah.
So I feel freedom of expression, freedom of speech, these things have been abused. They're going against the spirit of the freedom afforded through legislation. Freedom of expression or freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom to insult or freedom to hurt people. People have been hurt. There was an old saying, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. It's bullshit. Words do hurt. And words have driven people to suicide. loss of lives. And you don't think about just the person who's lost their life. Think about the families around them. Think about who else it's affected. And you're saying that what? Freedom of expression or freedom of speech? Bullshit. Either you're an idiot, you know, to even suggest that it's okay to do that, or you need your head checking. Well, same thing really, isn't it?
So are we now saying that
I think we've lost responsible thinking.
The UK or the US in general, because that's who we're most closely observing and related to.
Yeah.
Is this self-discovery now? Is it people found themselves and they've discovered themselves to be, I don't know, flip-flop with sock wearers or everything else that's going on now?
Look, my belief is, however you identify yourself or think of yourself or believe who you are, as long as you're not imposing it on others and you're not hurting others, it's your private life. You do what you want. Yeah?
Okay.
But the moment your actions, your words have a detrimental or an adverse effect on other people, then you have to rethink things. Do you see where I'm coming from? A simple courtesy, isn't it?
Okay.
That's my personal opinion, anyway.
Okay, then what if someone was to say to you,
"Oh, you're soft, you just take offense"?
It's impossible to not offend anyone nowadays.
Yes,
which
you're
is
right.
almost true, isn't it?
Yes, I'm not saying offense in that regard. It is almost true. You know, when is it not possible to you know, not offend people? You can't do that. You're right.
We're in a very PC world.
Yeah, but this is one of the problems. One of my connections, actually, and let me just pull this up, because one of my connections, I screenshot this because I found it interesting. So this is a person who's connected with me on Facebook. She put a Facebook post up, right? And she says, "I'm sick of COVID-19. I'm sick of black versus white. I'm sick of Tory versus Labour. I'm sick of gay versus straight. I'm sick of Christians versus atheists. I'm really sick of the media. I'm sick of no one being allowed to think what they want and feel what they do without offending someone. I am sick of people blaming the whole of the sins of a few. The whole for the sins of the few." Which should come back to what you were saying. Quite ironic that you said that, and I took a screenshot of this just yesterday. We're one race, the human race. This is what I'm saying. It doesn't take a genius to work out that there are some boundaries you just don't cross, right?
Okay.
I mean, would you know?
You know what? I'm known to be a little bit
controversial
when it comes to a lot of things. I think this whole idea of self-discovery has gone a bit too far. I think the number of people who have discovered themselves to be unpleasant things or unnatural things is quite scary.
You're talking about self-discovery. I was referring to self-image. Okay. There's a distinction between the two. My discussion or my views were based on how we perceive ourselves. Yeah.
Okay.
Not discovering, you know, who we are in terms of sexual orientation, sexual preferences, or, you know, those kind of things. My thinking is down the lines of how we imagine ourselves to be, and why are we not content with ourselves. One of the problems, I'll tell you, is that other people don't want us to be happy being the way we are. It closes shop for a lot of businesses, or some businesses. Okay. Imagine the makeup artists, makeup industry, plastic surgery. You know, 25% of plastic surgery is done on men.
25%, 1 in 4.
Yeah, one in 4 plastic surgeries are performed on men. From the last stats that I read, I can't remember where that was.
That number's only going to go up, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and you just think to yourself, what could they be doing, and why?
I'll tell you later.
I'm not sure.
I'm going to be on some dodgy websites. I'm telling you.
Oh, okay. Are you actually going to show me?
No.
So, you know, these are things. if we are constantly being told we're not good enough, it makes a producer more in a better position to produce something and give it into the market, and has more consumers for his production.
Okay.
Everything like that. Insecurities, you sell insecurities, is a big seller, right? You sell fear. If you sell on fear, you definitely get people buying.
Well, you could look at COVID, you know, everything went crazy.
Toilet paper.
Sanitizer, I get to an extent.
People fear that they won't have toilet paper, right? And look what happened to people. They went crazy to buy toilet paper. You sell fear, you sell insecurities, you sell all these negative things, you're going to get a shop that's going to be thriving with customers.
Which is pretty much how most wars have been sold to the public, isn't
it? You sell fear, you sell insecurities, you sell this...
So here's one then. On the topic of self-image, negative attributes, negative characteristics. How do people see that in themselves? Talk about racism, talk about, just general kind of discrimination, hate, jealousy, homophobia, or these kind of things. When you're looking at yourself and your own image, are you seeing that? Do you think people see that?
They say opposites attract and likes repel, like magnets. Yeah. So when you see someone like yourself, you might hate that person for having those attributes, but you might not see that you also have those attributes.
A racist person knows they're racist, yeah?
Okay, in that regard, okay. So a racist person, does the racist person always know that they're racist? Some might justify, oh, get out of here, don't be silly. If somebody calls a black person with the N-word, and the black person gets offended because internally they call each other the same thing, that other person could say, well, you guys call it each other, why can't I?
Yeah.
He might just not get it. He might not think he's being racist, but he might meet.
Which is probably not in that sense. I guess that's a different kind of example, because the number of times you hear it in movies, in songs, in rap performances and everything, is it really derogatory? Is it used in that way anymore? I think so.
No, but if somebody doesn't want to be addressed in that way, then we've got to be careful.
Katie Hopkins.
Yes.
In her own self-image, does she see herself as racist?
I'd like to say I'll show you later, but I can't even say that. I think you're going to have to ask her that question.
Yeah, okay. But someone of the likes of her.
Someone of the likes of her? I don't know. I really can't answer that question. They might genuinely feel they have, a reasonable case here, something genuine or concern genuine enough to discuss and address.
Okay.
If we were to continually seek validation from external sources, TV, media, friends, whatever, then either we need to change our friends. We don't. Look, friends are like, our Prophet described friends as mirrors. They're like mirrors.
Yeah.
Notice when you go in front of a mirror, it never really tells you anything. It tells you a lot without saying any words. Have you ever walked to a mirror and say, "How dare you? How dare you look at me like that, or even look like that?" The mirrors and friendship. In fact, we, for us as in faith, it's supposed to be a brotherhood, right? People are supposed to be sincere and genuine with each other. Yeah. If our friends, our people who we are mixing with, are the types of people who are only encouraging the kind of behavior or activities in which we have to change ourselves so drastically to be accepted by them, we have to change those circle of people we're hanging around with. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
If my daughter had friends who kept saying to her, "You don't look beautiful like this," or you need to do this, or you need to, do that, or dress like this, or dress like that, to hang about with us or whatever, then I would say straight up, you don't need friends like that.
What about friends who are too honest?
But it depends on what they're honest about. They might in themselves, we're friends, right? And I say to you, let's just say I'm honest, and I say to you, Ali man, we need to you need to kind of come and do shisha or stuff with us. Not that I go and do shisha, but or have a we need to buy a quarter and let's have some, I haven't had a smoke, I want to try it. And
wait, what did I miss? A quarter?
A quarter of an ounce of weed or something, yeah. Let's buy it. That's the language that's used. Well, at least it was back when I was at uni. That's what they used to say. I need to go.
Wow.
Yeah, or something like that. I think it was. But let's just say I'm being honest with you. Well, that's a negative thing to be honest about anyway, isn't it? If I'm being honest with you as a good friend and I say, look, Ali, it's smoking's not good for you, man. It's not. If you were a smoker and I said to you, it's not good for you. You shouldn't really be doing that. It's bad. I mean, once in a while, socially, not good, but at least it's better than smoking on a regular basis. You should try and give it up. That's different, isn't it? Mm. I'm calling you towards something good as opposed to calling you towards something bad, objectively speaking.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm trying to influence you in a way that's in which you're, rather than you, look, when you're younger, when kids are younger, it's different, isn't it? All kids want to role play and have dolls' houses or whatever. But when they're older, when they're of that age, past, post-adolescent kind of age, then things have got to change. Thinking has got to change.
You say that, but just the kind of role play changes.
That's true. I have seen adults, people within their 50s and 60s, and they still think they're living in the teenage years. Like, seriously, the way they look at girls, the way they talk about the opposite gender, going out on a night out, the language they use. I still know people who went to school with me, and their mentality. They'll be in professional jobs now. They'll be in careers, but the things they find amusing are still very bullyish. They will find amusement in somebody's downfall or somebody getting tripped up.
I find that funny.
No, not mean tripped up like on the street or something like that. That is funny. I mean, even though it shouldn't be, but It's still funny. I mean, somebody tripping up in life, somebody's downfall in life.
Okay, that's different.
That's not nice.
See, I always look at that as a weak character. The way to get ahead isn't to trip others up and for them to be behind, because that's you winning by default. There's no kind of goodness in that,
No, there isn't.
I've seen it in social
Some people
circles.
genuinely get happy because other people have.
Yes.
So I don't get that.
You look at your friend circle, yeah? Look at your group, and you'll probably find one who's got the nicest car or is a little bit well off, whatever. They don't have to be flash about it. They don't have to throw it in your face, but they know and you know.
Yeah.
When that changes and someone else in the group suddenly hits it big and is, like they're here and the other person ends up here.
Overtaking them.
Their reaction tells you a lot about that person.
It really does.
Even though they didn't, flash their car or their house or anything in your face before,
but their
reaction to, do you know what? He's really made it, man. He's this, he's that, he's smashed it. Or, but is it legal though?
Yeah. How did he get that? How did the taxi driver earn it?
Yeah, exactly.
Do that. You hear that commonly, don't you?
That shows a lot.
The man drives a taxi. Since when have taxi drivers earned enough to build a mansion in Pakistan?
Yeah. I wonder how much he declared. All these kind of things. Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
Whereas if you think about it, there's accusations of, but he's on benefits, isn't it? His benefits build that mansion. Ain't nobody building a mansion from benefits.
Exactly.
The hate is real, man.
The hate is real. Why do you think it is? Did you think there's some deficiency within themselves?
Because that person has an image of themselves
as superior to the others.
Comes into, not question, but it comes into danger because now what you thought yourself to be, someone else's. Someone else is, filling that role, that position, that identity, whatever it is.
But why would you be so bitter about it? That's the question.
Yes.
Being bitter about someone else's success means there were deficiencies within your own personality in the first place, where you couldn't handle somebody being better than you within that circle in the first place. You have that complex then, don't you? You have insecurities. You want to be perceived. Perception. We always talk about this. Perception is reality, and this is something I always teach even in sales. Perception is reality. The question comes down to your own value systems and what your values are. And if you're not living your life according to your own values, then your values mean nothing.
Jot it down. Copy paste that. What percentage of people do you think have had that self-discovery? Do you reckon there's an average age? Do you think there's a lot of people, even our age, walking around that haven't really had that talk with themselves and haven't really found themselves? There's going to be, isn't there? Especially if you're in the rat race, or if you're just head down, busy trying to achieve, your car or your home or your whatever it is. You haven't really had the time to find yourself and think, I could get that car, but then what? Is that who I am? There's so many questions, isn't there?
This is why I said right at the beginning, possessions and status, they don't define us.
True. You should never let that define you.
Look, again, you're using external things to define you. You're using external things to seek validation from, whether it's people's comments, whether it's media, whether it's people's likes, the currency that we talk about, social media likes and love hearts and comments and stuff. That shouldn't define us. What should define us is us. We should define us. We should decide who we are, where our roots are, or where our journey is, destination is. What's the route that we're going to take to get there? What are we going to allow to affect us and what are we not? One of the things that I always talk about when it comes to marketing, for example, for business owners, people talk about imitating others. Look, I'm all up for not reinventing the wheel. Very successful business people have said the same thing. Look, if something's working, if you could do the same thing and get equal success, if not more or more or less, then do it. That's fine. That's great. But when it comes to some areas, you have to show how unique you are, especially when your market is becoming saturated. God's created us in so many unique ways. We're all unique. Even identical twins have their differences. How many people have the same fingerprints?
No.
Do you see what? There's so many things that make us so unique, yet we're hell-bent on imitating others. Why? I want to look like her. I want to look like him. I want a body like hers, and I want to, do you see where I'm coming from?
Mm-hmm.
This is the kind of thing that I'm talking about.
Can you generally tell who's content and who's not?
Can I generally tell?
Yeah.
No, I can't. You can't. I mean, you have an idea of. I'd rather not do that kind of psychoanalyzing on people. It's not healthy.
I do all the time.
I don't do that.
It's not something you share with anyone.
No, but here's the thing. I do it when it counts. When I'm in the sales meeting or in my business meeting, it's my background, NLP.
Mm-hmm.
I do it in role plays when I'm training, council leaders in negotiation and influencing skills.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it with them in role plays and I'll tell them, certain things. And then when it counts, I do it. I don't like to generally do it. Like, I don't like to always have my health and safety hat on or risk management hat on, but it's always there, isn't it? It's a part of my personality now. But no, consciously, I'd rather not. It can be quite exhausting mentally. Yeah, for me especially. But I'm just.
I love it. I love it. But okay, wow, we've actually come to the end of our show.
Oh wow, okay. Ladies and gents, we could probably carry on for a lot longer.
Easy. You know what? I've got so many questions that are coming to my mind now about self-image and identity, and yeah, we're going to have to come back to this topic at some point, I think, in a future show.
Yeah. On that note, stay safe, stay happy, and stay content. Find yourselves, and let's just reduce these inhibitions and these this lack of confidence that we are sold on. We're not lacking confidence. We're not lacking ambition. We're not lacking anything in our lives unless we allow others to make us feel like we're lacking them.
This is true, yeah.
We can't feel inferior or we can't feel anything unless we give others the permission to make us feel that way. That's my point.
Yeah.
On that note, have a good evening. We'll see you next week.